What does future tech leadership mean to you and which principles anchor it? How did coding in C COBOL and living through mainframes to cloud shape your leadership instincts? And then when you were running IT for thousands of branches, what early scale lessons?
I still remember the night everything changed. We were deep in the cutover phase of a very critical project. Screens blinking, tension thick, and yet everything was in sync. That night I realized something profound. Green lights aren't a sign of luck. They are the product of clear decisions, disciplined execution, and systems you can trust. That moment didn't just mark a successful deployment, it marked my transition from being a systems leader to a strategic architect. The beginning, the technologist in me, my roots were deeply technical. I began in mid 1990s, coding in C and COBOL, managing systems, and gradually advancing through the ranks. I lived through the evolution of Indian tech, from green screens to graphical interfaces, from mainframes to cloud. When I joined Citi's IT company, now audited Capgemini, and then a private sector bank, the exposure to global practices and scale gave me a front row seat to how technology transforms institutions. I was leading IT infrastructure for over 4,700 branches, 110,000 plus employees, driving everything from predictive set healing systems to enterprise wide process automation. It was exciting, but I knew something was missing. I was leading delivery, but I wanted to shape the strategy. The transition at that point, I asked myself, how do I bridge technology with business vision? That's when I decided to pursue my MBA from a reputed global business school, which would help shape my career in the future. The learnings did more than provide me with frameworks. It gave me language and leadership muscle. From doing programs in the US at top business schools and learning strategy frameworks to customer centric thinking, from operational lens to governance and ethics focus. It was like standing at a crossroads where global best practices and Indian realities met. It sharpened my ability to think like a board member, not just a CIO. CIO to Catalyst, the impact was immediate. I took on larger mandates at a private sector bank and then as CIO of an MNC bank. I was no longer just implementing tech. I was defining the IT strategy for multiple lines of business across wholesale, retail, and global markets. Later, as the CIO of the largest bank in India, I was driving scale under scrutiny, designing CBDC pilots for G20, reimagining data architecture for real-time insights, and forging partnerships with IITs and regulators for a future-ready bank. But something inside me said, it's time to multiply this impact. That's when I made a deliberate choice. The shift. From one cockpit to many aircraft, I stepped into advisory and boardroom roles. The playbooks that work in BFSI, auditable AI, outcome focused transformation, platform modernization, decision frameworks are not just banking methods, they are leadership methods and they are portable. In healthcare, we use explainable AI and consent lineage to build trust in claims. In manufacturing, digital twins improve first pass yield and reduce downtime. In retail, real time loyalty, clarified ROI, and reduced methodology begin to into organizations. Aparna Tech Trends and Nexora. Both are focused on demystifying future tech for CXOs, boards, and functional leaders so they can govern it, trust it, and deploy it at speed. Aparna Tech Trends is a knowledge sharing platform that interacts with CXOs, board members, students, and future technologists. We publish articles and videos on the latest trends in IT through this platform. I do a lot of work by sharing knowledge and experience, grooming and mentoring technologists and the future tech leaders through this platform. Nexora Tech is a boutique advisory firm driving AI first innovation, digital transformation, and inclusive leadership for CXOs and boards. We partner directly with CXOs and boards to architect future ready enterprises through AI first strategies, IT modernization, and inclusive innovation. Drawing from our experience, we bring unmatched strategic insight to boardrooms, navigating complex digital shifts. Nexora Tech is a boutique powerhouse that blends high impact advisory with deep technology expertise, empowering organizations to scale with purpose, resilience, and sustainability. Our focus shaping what's next, not just adapt.
What gap did you see between technology delivery and business vision that drove you back to school? As CIO across retail slash wholesale slash markets, what changed in your approach to setting, not just executing strategy? Which BFSI playbooks transferred best to healthcare, manufacturing, and retail, and which did not?
I tweeted today what I take into every boardroom, every engagement I do now, whether it's advising on AI, GCC strategy, Gen AI, or digital governance, draws from what I learned and practiced. My consulting toolkit includes a 3-page storyboard: context, options, residual risk, go hold or build, a 90-day transformation signal plan. Which three of these will be moved? Revenue, cost, risk, reputation. A trust by design layer built into every roadmap, and yes, every CXO conversation is different. But the DNA of clarity, speed, and credibility remains the same. Looking back, looking forward, the most significant gift of my journey and experience was the confidence and conviction that I could step beyond the domain I knew best, BFSI, and contribute to healthcare, telecom, automotive, and manufacturing with equal depth. Now I mentor leaders across various industries, design next generation GCC strategies, and help boards adopt agentic AI, zero trust frameworks, and outcome based governance. And I share all of this through my platforms, my website, LinkedIn, and YouTube, so that others can learn, question, and evolve. Message to young and aspiring tech leaders: if you are wondering how to navigate the future, you should build a second vocabulary to talk tech to business and business to tech. Create a strategic compass. For what? To assess which bets are worth making, and a network to inspire, challenge, and walk with you through pivots. The world is shifting again, from automation to autonomy, from platforms to agents, from control to governance by design. And leaders like you will define what trust looks like in this new age. Banking on trust. Why AI must earn its seat in moments when critical banking technology is being cut over, or when AI is making real time decisions for millions. What does it actually take to build trust? You must ask this question to yourself, not just in the systems, but in the technology itself. I still remember one night at 3 a.m. in the war room of one of India's leading banks. The entire country's critical banking system was being cut over. Screens flashing, people pacing, some praying. When those dashboards finally turned green, people called it luck. But I knew it wasn't luck. It was discipline, clear decisions, and the ability to stand behind them when everything was on the line. That's the truth of banking technology. It's not just about systems working, it's about trust holding. And today, as AI becomes the invisible banker making decisions for millions, the same principle applies. AI has to earn trust. On women leaders in banking, I often get asked if women in banking leadership bring something special. Honestly, when I walked into boardrooms as one of very few women among 30 men, there was no extra something, just the courage to stay at the table.
Walk us through your 3-page storyboard, context, options, residual risk, go slash hold slash pivot on a tough decision. Which non BFSI engagement surprised you most in how quickly trust and outcomes scaled? What's your second vocabulary tip for translating tech to business and back again? How do you define trust for AI that makes real time decisions at a population scale? What did staying at the table look like in rooms where you were the only woman? Share a story where your 3-page storyboard diffused complexity with a regulator or CEO. Where do you draw the line for model explainability before go live in lending or fraud? How do you embed data lineage and auditability to ensure that decisions remain explainable years later? What's the signal beneath the mood of a dashboard during cutovers, and how do you act on it? When innovation and governance clash, what's your playbook to protect trust without stifling progress?
In banking, this means balancing innovation, regulation, and customer trust all simultaneously. My education, experience, and value system helped me sharpen this balance. It took what I already had, intuition and empathy, and taught me to back it with strategy and data. That mix became my leadership superpower. It's not about something special, it's about balance. And these experiences helped me find mine. On adapting the CIO lens across roles, in consulting, I had influence but no authority. In banks, I had authority but with massive public accountability. At an MNC bank, governance was on a global stage where every regulator was watching. Different worlds, but one ordinary skill mattered everywhere, turning complexity into clarity. Want to know my trick? A three-page storyboard: context, options, residual risk. Go or no go. Whether it was a regulator or a CEO, that storyboard kept the conversation simple. Because let's face it, nobody really wants to know the tech. They want to see if they can trust the decision using technology. So the crux is the CIO's real job: translate complexity into trust. What's your view on AI and BFSI? The double-edged sword. Here's where it gets tricky. AI is now determining who receives a loan, what transactions get flagged for fraud, and even what financial advice we receive. That's not just tech, it's power. Enterprise AI in banks, such as fraud detection and risk models, is cautious and methodical. Retail AI, such as chatbots and instant credit approvals, is flashy, fast, and sometimes reckless. Both are growing, but both need one thing in common: explainability. If I can't explain a model's decision in the boardroom or to a regulator, it has no place in banking. And yet, regulation is miles behind innovation. The answer isn't to slow down, it's to build collaborative sandboxes where banks, fintechs, and regulators shape the rules together. It has started. So it's essential to understand that in banking, AI shouldn't just pass the stress test, it must pass the trust test. Ethical AI and long term accountability. Here's the thing: if my AI model denies a farmer credit in rural India and he never knows why, I failed. Not just as a CIO, but as a leader. We need transparency baked into design, data lineage, audit trails, and clear accountability for every model decision. In fact, I believe the future isn't just about AI models. It's about AI trustees, independent structures that can interrogate an algorithm with the same way an auditor questions a balance sheet. Always remember that AI without explainability is like banking without audit. Unsustainable, absolutely unsafe. The dashboard story: at banks, dashboards have moods. Some days they look like a calm classical rock. On the other days, especially during cutovers, they feel like a rock concert gone operating. If I had to put a song to it during those long nights, it was always Zinda Hai To, the gritty reminder that resilience matters. On rare, smooth days, it was all is well. Because let's be honest, every CIO needs those days when the system hums and finally breathes. So every IT dashboard has a soundtrack. You just need the right playlist for the day. So finally, to summarize, AI is moving fast, sometimes faster than regulation, often faster than our ethical guardrails. We cannot afford to let innovation outpace governance. This is where your experience, skill, and resilience come in. We are builders, but more importantly, we are custodians. India has the opportunity not only to adopt AI in the BFSI sector, but also to establish a global standard for responsible AI. Because technology may power transactions, but trust, that timeless value, powers banking. Finally, I would say that innovation wins waters, trust wins decades.